Welcome to St. John's 2-Year Bible Reading Program. Father Dominic invites you to explore the entire Bible through daily readings from both the Old and New Testaments. Each session concludes with a reflective question and with a reflective reply provided at the beginning of the next day's reading. Enjoy the journey and may God bless you.
How can we maintain faithfulness and patience during periods of waiting or uncertainty? In Exodus chapter 32, during the Israelites' wait for Moses on Mount Sinai, they grew impatient and turned to idolatry, like creating and worshiping the golden calf. We can learn from their missteps to maintain faithfulness and patience during periods of waiting or uncertainty. Grounding ourselves in prayer, meditation, and studying Scripture can strengthen our faith and guide us during challenging times. Trusting in God's plan and timing is crucial, even when circumstances are unclear. Acts of worship, fellowship with other believers, and serving others can nurture our faith and patience. Practicing gratitude and mindfulness, and seeking support from the faith community, which can offer solace and encouragement, is vital. Embracing an uncertainty as an opportunity for growth, learning, and deeper trust in God can help us navigate waiting periods with faithfulness and patience. What lessons can we learn from Jesus' approach to the Sadducees' skepticism about the resurrection? In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 22, verses 15 through 33, Jesus responds to the Sadducees' skepticism about the resurrection. His profound insights and lessons are not confined to that time, but are relevant even today. When questioned about the resurrection by the Sadducees, who do not believe in it, Jesus addresses their doubt by pointing out their misunderstanding of the Scriptures and the power of God. He explains that people will be like angels in heaven in the resurrection, emphasizing the reality of life after death. Jesus' approach to the Sadducee skepticism offers us a lesson that has the power to transform. It underscores the importance of correctly understanding and interpreting the Scriptures. This understanding enables us to grasp their profound truths and be enlightened and empowered by them. Jesus, in his response to the Sadducees, teaches us about God's awe-inspiring, humbling power. He shows us that God can transcend human limitations, including death, a truth that should fill us with a deep sense of humility and reverence. Finally, Jesus' response to the Sadducees is a comforting reminder of the profound significance of faith. It reassures us that faith is not just a belief, but an anchor in accepting spiritual truths that may challenge our understanding or beliefs, providing us with a deep sense of security in God's eternal plan. Day 64, a reading from the book of Exodus, chapters 33 and 34. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Go, you and the people whom you have brought up from the land of Egypt are to go up from here to the land about which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give it to your descendants. Driving out the Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. I will send an angel before you to a land flowing with milk and honey, that I myself will not go up in your company, because you are a stiff-necked people. Otherwise, I might consume you on the way." When the people heard of this painful news, they mourned and no one wore any ornaments. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites. You are a stiff-necked people. Were I to go up in your company, even for a moment, it would destroy you. Now off with your ornaments. Let me think what to do with you." So from Mount Horeb onward, the Israelites stripped off their ornaments. Moses used to pitch a tent outside the camp at some distance. It was called the Tent of Meeting. Anyone who wished to consult the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. Whenever Moses went out to the tent, the people would all rise and stand at the entrance of their own tents, watching Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses entered the tent, a column of cloud would come down and stand at its entrance, while the Lord spoke with Moses. On seeing the column of cloud stand at the entrance of the tent, all the people would rise and bow down at the entrance of their own tents. The Lord used to speak to Moses face to face, as a person speaks to a friend. Moses would then return to the camp, but his young assistant, Joshua, son of Nun, never left the tent. Moses said to the Lord, "See, you are telling me, lead this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, you are my intimate friend. You have found favor with me. Now, if I have found favor with you, please let me know your ways, so that in knowing you, I may continue to find favor with you. See, this nation is indeed your own people." The Lord answered, "I myself will go along to give you rest." Moses replied, "If you are not going yourself, do not make us go up from here. For now, how can it be known that I and your people have found favor with you, except by your going with us? Then we, your people, and I, will be singled out from every other people on the surface of the earth." The Lord said to Moses, "This request too, which you have made, I will carry out, because you have found favor with me, and you are my intimate friend." Then Moses said, "Please let me see your glory." The Lord answered, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim my name, Lord, before you. I who show favor to whom I will, I who grant mercy to whom I will. But you cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live. Here," continued the Lord, "is a place near me, where you shall station yourself on the rock. When my glory passes, I will set you in the cleft of the rock, and will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand so that you may see my back, but my face may not be seen." The Lord said to Moses, "Cut 2 stone tablets like the former, that I may write on them the words which were on the former tablets that you broke. Get ready for tomorrow morning, when you are to go up Mount Sinai, and there present yourself to me on the top of the mountain. No one shall come up with you, and let no one even be seen on any part of the mountain. Even the sheep and the cattle are not to graze in front of this mountain." Moses then cut 2 stone tablets like the former, and early the next morning he went up to Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, taking in his hand the 2 stone tablets. The Lord came down in a cloud and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name, Lord. So the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in love and fidelity, continuing his love for 1,000 generations, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin, yet not declaring the guilty guiltless, but bringing punishment for their parents' wickedness on children, and children's children, to the 3rd and 4th generation. Moses at once knelt and bowed down to the ground. Then he said, "If I find favor with you, Lord, please, Lord, come along in our company. This is indeed a stiff-necked people, yet pardon our wickedness, sin, and claim us as your own." The Lord said, "Here is the covenant I will make. Before all your people I will perform marvels never before done in any nation anywhere on earth, so that all the young people among whom you live may see the work of the Lord. Awe-inspiring are the deeds I will perform with you. As for you, observe what I am commanding you today. See, I am about to drive out before you the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Take care not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land that you are to enter, lest they become a snare among you. Tear down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Ashereths. You shall not bow down to any other god. The Lord, jealous, his name is a jealous God. Do not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, else when they prostitute themselves with their gods and sacrifice to them, one of them may invite you, and you may partake of the sacrifice. And when you take their daughters as wives for your sons, and their daughters prostitute themselves with their gods, they will make your sons do the same. You shall not make for yourselves molten gods. You shall keep the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days at the appointed time in the month of Abib, you are to eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you. For in the month of Abib you came out of Egypt. To me belongs every male that opens the womb among all your livestock, whether in the herd or in the flock. The firstling of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. If you do not redeem it, you must break its neck. The firstborn among your sons you shall redeem. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you may labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Even during the seasons of plowing and harvesting, you must rest. You shall keep the Feast of Weeks with the first fruits of the wheat harvest. Likewise, a feast of the ingathering at the close of the year. 3 times a year, all your men should appear before the Lord God of Israel. Since I will drive out the nations before you and enlarge your territory, no one will covet your land when you go up there 3 times to appear before the Lord your God. You shall not offer me the blood of sacrifice with anything leavened, nor shall the sacrifice of the Passover feast be kept overnight for the next day. The choicest first fruits of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write down these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel." So Moses was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights, without eating any food or drinking any water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 words. As Moses came down from Mount Sinai, 2 of the tablets of the covenant in his hands, he did not know that the skin of his face had become radiant while he spoke with the Lord. When Aaron then and the other Israelites saw Moses and noticed how radiant the skin of his face had become, they were afraid to come near him. Only after Moses called to them did Aaron and all the leaders of the community come back to him. Moses then spoke to them. Later, all the Israelites came up to him, and he enjoined on them all that the Lord had told him on Mount Sinai. When Moses finished speaking with them, he put a veil over his face. Whenever Moses entered the presence of the Lord to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out again. On coming out, he would tell the Israelites all that he had been commanded. Then the Israelites would see that the skin of Moses' face was radiant, so he would again put the veil over his face until he went in to speak with the Lord. How can the events on Mount Sinai teach us about the seriousness of God's covenants? Day 64, a reading from the Holy Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 22, verses 34 through 46. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a scholar of the law, tested him, asking, "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophets depend on these two commandments." While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus questioned them, saying, "What is your opinion about the Messiah? Whose son is he?" They replied, "David's." He said to them, "How then does David, inspired by the Spirit, call him Lord, saying, 'The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I place your enemies under your feet'? If David calls him Lord, how can he be his son?" No one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day on did anyone dare to ask him any more questions. How can we practice the love encapsulated in the greatest commandment in challenging situations?